that video is because that's an example of what students going out, making change, having an impact looks like. And that's not happening enough. We need to have more of where students understand that they can make a difference. It's not restricted to just adults. And there are examples of this kind of service learning, project-based learning happening in the US and Canada as well. I read this article on Edutopia where a science teacher, Brian Kiva, asked a group of 8th graders at his school to pick a problem, any problem from their community, and solve it. And so and I'm reading off of the article here, they picked buffalo grass, the fast-growing, flame-resistant menace which is cheaply imported by some states as inexpensive erosion control and cattle feed. But like something out of a bee horror film, it devours the natural habitat, stealing water and sucking the nutrients from the ecosystem. Once the students discovered the plague-like weed, they weren't sure how to spread the word of its horrors. One student declared they needed to get the word out, since knowledge is power. So they decided to create a Facebook page devoted to the threat and post a rap song on YouTube all about buffalo grass. I'll just show a little bit of this one. Millions of plants, maybe.
This is buffalo grass. And as you can see, there are seeds on the
No! My name is the weed killer, call me anytime. You can talk to me as long as it rhymes.
So, they're rapping about buffalo grass. The quality varies throughout the video, and but they did a great job on really raising awareness about this issue. And it's an issue that you probably wouldn't find just looking for. And so I'm impressed that they chose this one that I didn't really know much about and raised awareness about it. And this project was all about student choice, the scientific method, and getting the word out to different states, quote from Edutopia, courtesy of little 21st century know-how. In doing, he created a learning community and nurtured what many teachers scratch their heads to achieve, students who love the learning process. Using the social networking tools of our age, this Tucson teacher and a small group of students began to educate politicians, farmers, and Facebook fans like me. Using 21st century tools, they become advocates for their own local community. One of the things that I like best about this example of the buffalo grass project is that it really made this issue and the learning relevant to kids. It wasn't their science teacher saying, today I'm going to talk about buffalo grass, this is buffalo grass, this is what you do, because a lot of kids will probably tune out to that kind of thing. It's buffalo grass, okay, great, the teacher's giving me a lecture about this weird stuff. But by taking ownership of their learning, these students were able to really investigate it and take a personal interest in it. So what can you do? Ask yourself, what are problems in my community? What are problems that face my area? And how can my students be a part of the solution? Many focus on students graduating from high school and going to college as the start of the solution. But I believe that students can begin making a difference, solving problems within their communities far earlier. In other words, make a difference no matter how young. A classroom where students have the opportunities to solve real-life problems and engage in service learning is an innovative classroom. It isn't one where it's all about things which students are going to be like, this isn't relevant to me, I don't like learning this, where students really have the chance to go out and discover problems and solve them, because that's not just learning, that's also life. I believe that an innovative classroom isn't just one where the world comes to us, it's one where we can help the world. One where we have voice in the education decisions that will affect our future primarily, and an innovative classroom is a connected one where students can connect in more ways than one, maybe not just face-to-face, but also online. It's one where we can use online technology like blogging or rapping on YouTube to create meaningful work. I think most people would agree with me when I say that the internet has changed a lot of how we look at knowledge. When I said this, though, my dad was like, it wasn't just the internet, it was books first. He's very defensive about books. And I do agree with him in this point, because indeed books did democratize knowledge. Before it would be that you had your monks copying out books by hand, and it was very slow and it was very decorative and it was for mostly very rich people. So the web is the printing press of the modern age in many ways. And just as the printing press made the value of books, which had to be copied by hand, more plentiful and cheap, then the internet is making information even more so. It's becoming more distributed. And if the internet is the printing press of our times, then I feel like too many students and too many teachers are stuck as those monks, copying out books by hand. Why should learning be restricted to an hour or 45 minutes of class time per subject? By improving student access to technology at home and at school, you're able to give them an environment of learning, to surround them in learning. I've been talking quite a bit about technology, but some of the things which make good classrooms, as you know, are things which aren't new or technological at all. They have to do with tried and true methods of teaching that have been around as long as the profession. Think back to the best teachers you had. What made them so effective? Raise your hand if you felt that your best teachers made a personal connection with you, that they knew you, that they cared about your learning. I'm seeing pretty much unanimously raised hands. It's this personal connection that we have to strive for when it comes to teaching, because yes, teaching is about connecting places and facts and ideas, but it's also about connecting people. You have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of my role as an educator? Maybe you administrate projects, lead change, manage budgets, but one of the most important things you do is to form those personal connections with your students. If you think back to your best teachers, I'm guessing they weren't the ones who read line by line out of the textbook and ran the class like automated robots. They were the ones who took personal interest in your learning, who asked you how you were doing, who really seemed to be affected when you weren't doing well or when you didn't seem to be interested. Personal relationships affect how well we learn even before we get to be school age. I was at a conference called TEDx Rainier, and I saw a professor of speech and hearing sciences from the University of Washington, Patricia Kuhl, speak, and she'd done all these studies with babies and how they learned language. And so one of the things they found were that at birth, babies are citizens of the world. That is, they respond to syllables from all kinds of different languages, whether from Asia or Europe. But after constant exposure to one language, then they would become really nationalized. They would lose that ability. But when that was counteracted, when they were exposed to the sounds of another language that might be completely foreign, so let's say babies from the US who are exposed to Mandarin, which was actually the case in this study, then they maintained that ability. So they had actually people who spoke Mandarin come to the house of a baby and speak to them on a regular basis. And the babies kept recognition. But hearing the previously recorded Mandarin on TV or from audio didn't have an effect. And this all goes to show the importance of personal connections, of the person there. I'd like to sincerely congratulate all of you on your hard work, whether you're teachers, administrators, education consultants, whatever your role may be. I know that you've really worked hard and that you have the interests of students like me and all of your students out there really at heart. And I'd like to tell you, actually, firstly, I want you to turn to the person next to you and debate about the newspaper clipping I showed you earlier. Do you think that that is an actual newspaper clipping cut out of the Ufield Herald, or do you think that that's something that somehow I made up?
Someone made it for students to teach.
Okay, so I guess you made it.
Going to hell in a handbasket.
It's pretty clever. I believed in it first.
Me too. I just can't believe when things have plummeted to that point that students teach teachers.
Okay.
What's wrong
I
with
think
Canada?
that should be enough time. You know, I don't have a Himalayan bowl to strike here, but I'm going to just use my voice. Raise your hands if you think it was a genuine newspaper article. I see some raised hands. Okay. Raise your hand if you think it was manufactured. Wow, it's a pretty equal divide. Okay, well, I've got to raise my hand for the second one. I actually made it up. There's an online newspaper clipping service, which is actually really handy. I'm not using it to do crimes or anything. I just couldn't figure out what you were laughing at. So basically what I did was I just wrote up a story that was kind of shocking about these students herding the teachers into the classroom and assigning them homework, which I thought, I didn't realize so many of you would fall for it. Although that newspaper clipping may be fake, I hope that the message you'll walk away with is one that's very true. That you may not be the only teachers in the room, that the students who you speak to, you can often learn quite a bit from them. And raise your hand if you've, actually I went to poll you guys here, raise your hand if you've ever learned something other than how to work a piece of technology from a student. I'm seeing even more hands than for technology. And this is so true because when I video conference with students, when I see their dedication, when I see them talking about different things, I've learned a lot from the students whom I speak to, and I've learned a lot even from those who are younger than me. And when you think about it, the best relationships are reciprocal. Oops. What was the last good friendship you had with someone who never wanted to know what you thought, never asked you a question, or wanted to know how your day was? In business or friendship, government or education, listening to others works. It's easier to listen to someone and to respect someone when they listen to and respect you. When I feel respected, I'm more likely to return that feeling. What is it exactly that you can learn from your students? I'm sure you all have different, unique answers, but I've learned that from many younger students. Maybe it's that almost naive belief in possibility, positive thinking versus negative, or the creativity that you see in a 4-year-old's crayon drawings. It's obvious that just as kids can learn a lot from adults, and what I'm trying to say here is not that, no, adults shouldn't teach kids. I think that I can learn a lot from those of you who are older than I am. But our schools often do not create opportunities for young people to teach their teachers. At the kids conference I organized, TEDx Redmond, we heard speakers come and talk about a variety of different issues, and one where we heard a lot of voice from was in the area of education. There were speakers who were talking about budget cuts, cafeteria lunches, all these things which directly impacted them. And in every case, there were decisions that had been made without their input. That's a shame, and that's something that we need to fix. At my house, you have a book of brain teasers, and one of them tells the story of a boy who goes to the hospital, and he sees a doctor, and the doctor says, "This is my son," but his dad isn't at the hospital. So how is it possible for the doctor to be there? Well, as some of you may know, the doctor is his mother. And the reason that that's a brain teaser in the book is because of cultural perceptions of doctors being men. What is the average age of the person you think of when you hear the word teacher? Probably an adult. I want you to change that image. Why does the teacher always have to be an adult? Why couldn't it be someone my age or younger? You can think of a comparable riddle on your own. I've been virtually saying put on your switching hats, saying put on your student hat, put on your teacher hat, but really you shouldn't have a student hat or a teacher hat because everyone has something to learn and everyone has something to teach. Teaching and learning is a two-way street, but unlike on the real street, there's no driver's age requirement. To all of you in the audience, I commend you for your hard work and dedication in teaching the next generation, no, the present generation of leaders. I encourage each one of you, whether you're a teacher, a parent, a child and education consultant, someone here at this conference, whatever you do, I hope that you will all think about what you can learn from the other. I've been here at this conference for a few days, going to sessions. Well, it's been over 2 days, but I've been going to sessions, and I really, whenever I go to conferences, I always try to embrace what can I learn from the other speakers. Just because I'm a keynote speaker and just because I'm going to be speaking to this audience doesn't mean that I can't learn from them and doesn't mean that I can't walk into sessions and view them. And that's something that I really enjoy doing. And at the same time, going to these conferences, it's allowed me to learn so much and look at my own learning process. And that's really helped me because I firmly believe, as many of you probably do, that it's only when we know how to learn that we truly know how to teach. Thank you. I'll be signing your books. If you want me to sign your books, then I will be able to do that.